One of the biggest things that I struggle with in college is balance. I mean, there are so many competing things. There's school, extracurriculars, socializing, relationships, sleep, health. The list goes on, and it becomes really easy to neglect one or many of these things if you get too caught up in one or the other, and it can overall be a really stressful experience trying to balance everything. So in this video, I kind of want to explain some of the strategies that I've learned and that I've been taught for how to balance various things. As a college student here at Harvard, I think I've done a pretty good job so far. I mean, my grades have been pretty good. I have a pretty decent social life. I've managed to maintain a long-distance relationship. I have balanced over 30 hours of extracurriculars a week, not able to talk about it on YouTube, unfortunately. And I have this YouTube channel, and on top of that, I sleep a fairly good amount, usually 8 to 9 hours a night. And so I'm not saying any of this to brag, although it might sound like I am, and I'm sure there'll be comments about that. I'm not. I really am not. What I'm trying to do is show you that it is possible to balance what feels like a million different things and what can feel really stressful. It's possible to do it if you have the right strategies and the right mindset to do that. And so I'm going to do my best to share my strategies with you here. So before I get started, I'd just like to thank Chegg for sponsoring this video. They didn't get any creative input on the content of the video, but more on them at the end. Okay, so the first thing that you have to get really good at is time management. And I do two things really with time management. I keep a journal and I keep a Google Calendar. And so the journal is my growth book, which is available on Amazon. I designed it myself. And basically the breakdown of the journal is it's to manage the micro of every day. So hour by hour, I just go in and I break down what I'm going to be doing in any given day. And then I maintain a to-do list and a list of goals. And what this does is it kind of keeps things cohesive and it keeps me motivated. I also write down my daily motivation. And then it also allows me to reflect and see how things have tied together. So at the end of the day, I take a few minutes and I write a happiness or a gratitude reflection in the bottom right corner. And I feel like this is a really good and wholesome way for me to maintain a sense of flow in my day-to-day life. But I also use Google Calendar, and what I use Google Calendar for is kind of plotting the macros. So any like recurring events such as classes or any meetings, any events, I put those in Google Calendar as soon as I can. And then when I'm plotting out my day in my journal, I'll use Google Calendar to fill out some of the time slots. So I know if I have a call, I can see that on Google Calendar weeks in advance, and then I can put it in my growth book the day of. And so using these two tools together really helps me to make sure that I'm not missing things and to find the moments in the day to do the things that really matter to me. And that's really critical for balance, is finding those little time, because it's really a question of allocating time and energy efficiently. Another thing that you have to master in order to attain balance is having a sense, and a real sense, of what your actual priorities are. And so the way that I do this, the way that I've broken it down, at least in the past that works for me, is I take a look at what kind of broad activities I'm spending a lot of time on. So school, sleep, socializing, extracurriculars, etc., etc. And then I just write those down on a piece of paper, and then right next to them, I write down kind of their corresponding ranking of importance to me. So I figure out what's the most important and what's the least important to me. And then I see how that corresponds with how much time and energy I'm spending on them, and I make adjustments as need be. So that sounds a little bit theoretical, so just walking through an example, school actually isn't a huge priority for me. And so after first semester last year, I realized I was spending the most time on school, but it wasn't really rewarding me. It wasn't a top priority. And so I learned to dedicate less energy to it. So it doesn't mean dedicating no energy because it's a lower priority, but it means dedicating basically a minimal amount of energy to get the reward or to get the return that I want. And to spend that energy and that time on other things, like reading, like making videos, like socializing. And so once you have a sense of a hierarchy within your priorities, it becomes a lot easier to make those decisions which are otherwise kind of difficult, prioritizing your time and your energy. You know, and I think that the other nice thing that setting priorities allows you to do, having a hierarchy allows you to do, is that it allows you to be okay with what would otherwise be a really negative outcome, right? Like with my school example, when I started to get grades that were lower than I had previously been getting, it was a bit worrisome, you know, like I was getting, 80s when I was usually getting 90s, 95s, right? And it was like, this is different, this is weird. But because I had consciously made the decision to spend less energy and less time on school, I kind of was able to accept that as a consequence and be able to like, look, even though I'm getting lower grades, my YouTube channel is doing really well, my relationships are doing really well, and that's a trade-off that I'm willing to make. And so being conscious of the trade-offs that you're making with your time and your energy is really, really critical. And it allows you to achieve balance and, more importantly, to not be stressed about those negative outcomes when they arise, because they will arrive. There will inevitably be some trade-offs where you end up doing worse than you'd like to in some aspect of your life, and you have to get comfortable with that. So the last skill that I want to talk about that really helps with balance is one that I'm struggling with a lot and that I'm working on actively, and that's communication. And so the idea behind this is that sometimes it feels like, and I'm sure you've been here before, I've been here before many times, that there are just different people in different aspects of your life that all want something. So your teachers want something, maybe some officials in your extracurriculars, coaches, president of a club, whatever, they want something. Your parents, your friends, your girlfriend, all of these people in your life, they're all looking for time and energy from you. And it can feel sometimes like you have to bear that all alone. Like you have to be able to balance everything, and if you can't, then you're a failure or you're weak. But in reality, most of these people want what's best for you, right? They just don't fully understand what stress they're putting you through. Because if it was just them that was asking you for time and energy, it'd be no problem. Or if it was them and another person, but it's the combination of things that's going on. Or maybe there's some, other life circumstance that makes everything seem more stressful. Ultimately, it's up to you to be able to communicate that with the people that matter in a timely manner. So what I've found at least is, especially with teachers, like professors, if you email them, or TAs, TFs, whatever, if you email them and you say, hey, like here's my situation, I'm really stressed out right now, like here's what I'm trying to do, they generally have some empathy. And they can say, okay, no problem, like how can I make your life easier? Maybe I'll push back this deadline a couple of days, whatever. Or even if they don't, just having somebody know what you're going through can be really important. And this is also really critical in relationships. Like when people ask how to maintain a long distance relationship, like I'm no relationship guru, but communication is super, super important, right? And so if you don't explain like, you know what, like I'm gonna be really busy today, like I'm really stressed out right now, school's really getting me down, whatever, then it's hard for people to have empathy with you. And it's hard for them to understand what you're going through and therefore help you. So communication is something that it sometimes feels like weakness. You're admitting that you can't handle the situation or that it's hard for you to handle the situation. And that's a tough thing to do. But when you do it, when you're able to brave that, there can be really positive reward. So those are kind of like the three fundamental skills that I see in my life contributing to balance at least. So they're time management, knowing where your priorities are, and being good at communication. And I'm obviously still working at all of those. Balance is still a very difficult thing for me, but I just figured I'd share, what I've learned so far and what I've been lucky enough to have been taught. And now I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Chegg. So Chegg is a leading online study assistance tool for college and high school students. And they've got a huge library of step-by-step solutions for textbooks, which is what I've used them for in the past. They're really awesome for that. See, I tend to learn well from seeing people solve similar problems. I learn by doing. So being able to see people walk through step-by-step problems that I'm struggling with helps so much. And if you need more help, they also have 24/7 access to experts where you can literally just take a picture of a problem and get help with it. And they have a website and a mobile app, so it's really convenient to use. So for $5 off your first month of subscription, go to chegg.com/johnfish and use promo code JOHNFISH. That's chegg.com/johnfish and use promo code JOHNFISH. There's also a link in the description with the promo code that you need, so you can just copy paste it. All right, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support. If you liked the video, maybe drop a like. If you want to see more like this, hit subscribe. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, let me know in the comments how you keep your life balanced or what you struggle with in terms of balancing things. I'd love to read what your thoughts on this topic are. So thanks so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next Friday.